And it's time once more for Super League Raw Weekly. On tonight's show, we announced the Team of the Week for round number 12. There were plenty of yellow cards this weekend. We will be looking at each one and assessing, was it right or was it wrong? Hanging or banging is of course here with all the news, gossip and transfers. As always, what will Oliver be asking this week? And we will be previewing Super League Raw style, the Challenge Cup Final 2026, Wigan Warriors against Hull KR, all the key head-to-heads. We will be going right through the rosters. Get ready, folks. It's time for Super League Raw Weekly. You can't beat a bit of weekly. Let's roll the titles. This programme is proudly sponsored by BYD, the #1 electric vehicle in the world and the fastest growing brand in the UK car market. BYD in Super League Raw, building our dreams together. And the home of Super League Raw, the Bluebell in Warrington. Make this your pre- and post-game destination for the best food and drink in town. So good evening and welcome to Super League Raw Weekly. Great to have your company. As always, it's a full house this evening. The boys are all in the room. Gentlemen, how are you in this baking heat?
Very well, thanks.
Yes, it's going to be a hot show. Hot show. It's going to be a bit grim, this one, it has to be said. But hey-ho, we'll survive. We will get through it. Lots to get through tonight, of course. A full Challenge Cup preview on its way here tonight, courtesy of Super League Raw Weekly. You know that we do it properly here. You're going to have great entertainment throughout the evening. Don't you worry about that. In the chat, as always, we've got Paul Boardman, George Valentine. George, hope you're well. A long time no see, sir. Rista Roach is with us. Gary Hutchinson's with us. Richard Fewless. Hello to you. Nigel Wood. Craig Forth also. Rebecca Frey. They're all in there. Great stuff. Great to have your company as always. Right, of course. Like I say, big preview coming on the Challenge Cup, so we better get cracking. Let's start off with some positives, shall we, boys? Steph, Aspiro Bichet at scrum half at Catalan against York. Take a bow, young man. What a performance at scrum half from Bichet.
Yeah, no, he was exceptional, and I think he's kind of got all the skills, hasn't he? We've seen that when he's been playing in the fullback role. I think it was, probably not by choice with Dodd being injured that they've thrown him in there, but by God, it's given him options going forward, hasn't it, Cartwright? He had a phenomenal game for them, really stood out. His distribution was brilliant, and he's got the running game as well, so he makes him a good attacking threat in the half. So yeah, brilliant performance by him.
Absolutely couldn't agree with you more. Greg, the offload for Russell's try. I mean, all I'm going to say, both his offload, but also Lipovich's offload as well in the same game for Tarpes. I mean, if a rugby ball was milk tray, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The lady loves those tries. That was absolutely glorious, wasn't it?
It was. It was another stand-up and applaud moment. There were a few in that game. But yeah, I mean, going back to what Steph says, I mean, Aspirio Boucher or Bichet or how you say it, Asparagus Bucket as I call him. Yeah, what a revelation he was. He has done well when he's played at full back, and he had to wait a while for Morg to move on, and then he got injured. So yeah, he's giving his new boss plenty of options. But those little bits of skill were wonderful. And what a strange game as well. What a strange game.
Second half was absolutely glorious. Great rugby league football.
It was Chuckle Brothers rugby to me.
It was indeed. It was, but it made for great entertainment. Loved every minute of it. Right. I tell you what, I bet Mark Applegarth was filthy. 25 seconds into the second half, and Aspiro Bichet waltzed his through. I bet he wasn't an happy boy, Mark. I bet he'd be very disappointed. Joel, Nicarima and Irwin produced 2 moments of individual brilliance at the Warrington game. It was lacking a lot of brilliance, it has to be said, that game. But I thought Irwin's try was nice, but Nicarima raised him considerably for his. 2 nice moments in the game, that.
It is, and it's what we kind of expected from Jaden for the Bulls this year. It's something that we mentioned pre-season. We said that the older boys, or the more experienced ones, should we call it, need to definitely show up, and he has done. He's a cracking player, and I think it clearly shows that he's definitely got plenty more future in the game, and he's not slowing down in any way. So he's very enjoyable to watch, and I'm really happy for the Bullmania.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good indeed. Steph, Casford Tigers produced arguably their best 80 minutes of the season against Saints. Gary in incredible form. A bit of rumour that Gary might be moving on at the end of the season. I've not heard where to, but that'd be a big blow the way he's playing. That partnership on the left edge with Mapapalanga, absolutely superb, and he scored some beauties in that hat-trick.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise you at all if he's on the radar of some perceived bigger clubs. His finishing was phenomenal, and I mentioned it on a show I was on last night. If he's on Leeds' left edge, I think he'd be right up there with Sivo for top try scorers in the league. His finishing's phenomenal. He's got great pace, and his strength is superb as well. He can really finish. So Cass needs to get him tied down a bit like they did with Rapalanga for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gary's doing well. Yeah, good podcast, that one. Enjoyed it myself last night. Steph going out on loan, as it were, for an evening. Enjoyed his time over there with 2 Yorkshire. What is it called? 2 Yorkshiremen and a Saint?
2 Yorkshire for a Saint.
2 Yorkshire for a Saint.
Really good listen. They're just getting started. They'll only be going a few months, but good entertainment on a Monday evening for any of our followers if they want to see a bit more rugby league chat.
Well, it's certainly better than some of the podcasts that go out on a Monday, but we'll just leave that there. Anyway, happy days. Greg, coming back to you, Jodie Cunningham, Emily Rudge are going to bow out at the end of this season. Somebody who's passionate for the women's game, both incredible advocates for women's rugby league in this country, and they'll be sorely missed.
They will be, and they'll be hard to replace as well. There's a good crop of young girls, young talent coming through at Saints, but for a few years, they're going to be difficult to replace. Yeah, what great servants! I think they were there right at the beginning. I know Jodie was right at the beginning of getting women's Super League or women's rugby up and running, and she's been a great ambassador for the game. She works for the media as well, doing bits of Sky here and there. She's basically, Jodie's the face of women's rugby league in this country, as far as I'm concerned. Talks very well about the game. I know both her and Emily are passionate about bringing those young girls through and making sure that this next crop of really talented girls that are coming through from all clubs maybe get better opportunities than they were afforded at the start of the game, at the start of the women's game. I'm not going to use the word proper, but the start of interest in building a Super League, however many years ago that was. Both Warrington girls as well. So wish them well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Joel, I'll come to you on this one tomorrow. It's a little matter of origin being played on the other side of the world. As a big Australian Rugby League fan like myself, you must be delighted that Origin season has arrived.
Absolutely, it's the best rugby league on the planet, barring internationals. Well, in fact, it beats a lot of international games, if we're being honest. I think the only thing that comes second to it, or maybe matches it, will be Australia versus New Zealand, probably. But yeah, it's just the best game on the planet. You just see the best rugby. You don't see a right lot of defence. It's more just they're running with the ball and throw the ball around like absolute headless chickens, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's popcorn rugby. It's just a shame that it's at stupid o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's not stupid o'clock. It's 10.
Oh, right, okay, that's not so bad this time.
No,
It has been. It's been earlier before.
Yeah, no, it's 10 o'clock. I'm sure it's 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, look, again, I've seen the squads that have been announced. I have to say, James Tedesco in for Edwards. That's probably one of the biggest surprises, I would say, in terms of the New South Wales squad. Obviously, Staggs is in because Latrell's injured, isn't he? Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting how Fanua Blake goes for the Blues, and of course Victor Radley is set to return to Origin action tomorrow morning. So that's interesting. I mean, again, if you look at spines, Steph, we're in for a treat. Queensland, Kalen Ponga at 1. Then you've got Munster and Sam Walker. Sam Walker's going to be playing. That's an interesting call from Queensland. He's there at 7. Harry Grant is at 9. With Max Play for the Dolphins at 13. That's the Blues. The Maroons. And then the Blues: Tedesco, Mitchell Moses, Nathan Cleary, Reece Robson, who's having a good season for Sydney Roosters, and Isaiah Yeo. I mean, as spines go, Steph, you wouldn't mind them playing in leopard print, would you?
Yeah, we should be so lucky. I think a lot of the NRL teams wouldn't mind some of those players in their spines, wouldn't they? So no, they're the best on the planet, aren't they? And like Joel said, it's the best game in rugby league for me. The intensity, the passion, but also the biggest thing for me is the marketing. And it's like I compare it to the NFL, who are brilliant at marketing sport. It's right up there. They've learned the lessons from the NFL, and you even get excited over here with what they're showing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. Can't wait.
Fantastic stuff. Reggie, are you working tomorrow, mate? Are you going to be catching the Origin game?
I will be working tomorrow, unfortunately, but I shall be avoiding the score like the plague and getting to see it when I can.
Fantastic.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There you go, boys. Peppery's text all day. Make him sweat.
Yeah,
is what I would say. Make him sweat. The bar's open, and straight away, as always, Nige Bennett goes in. Cheers, Nige. We need a couple of cold ones tonight. All the very best to you, mate. And well done to your Tigers. We won't talk Saints tonight. We'll just allow it to be a Tigers night. A phenomenal 80 minutes, and many congratulations to your team and to Ryan Carr as well. Really pleased for you, mate. Very well done indeed. Billy Ingram as well is with us. He's looking forward to Wembley with Super League Raw. Keep your eye out throughout the weekend. Myself and Joel will be posting plenty of content from in and around Wembley on Cup Final Day. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. Right then, we'll go to Steph last on this because we've already had the chat, but I want to get your take on this one, Reggie. Again, celebratory. Yamila Hanley leads Hull FC. And let's not forget, Hanley's been out injured. I think that was his second game back. So he's, I'd say second game. I think he played a couple of times once, but he's nursing an injury. By all accounts, he's still he's not 100%. His performance against FC. Now, would you see that as an England performance?
I certainly see it as an eye opener. And if he can continue that form, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in consideration at all. He's got the talent. We know that he's had bad luck with injuries. We all know that as well. But yeah, certainly. I mean, as long as he's not going to take any kicks. But yeah, I think that if he continues in that vein, he's going to be very, very close. There are a few candidates ahead of him at this moment in time. But if he carries on, if he stays injury free, there's no reason why he shouldn't be coming in contention for Mr. McDermott at the business end of the season. And of course, if Lee can build on recent performances, get into that top 6, stay in the top 6, there'll be more eyes on him, and that won't do his case any harm either.
Well, let's not forget he was Dream Team last year. I mean, Joe, on Greg's point there in terms of who's ahead of him, Herbie Farmer's ahead of him. Nobody's displacing Herbie, and none of us would argue with that. But once you've put Herbie Farmer on one side, Who's ahead of him on the other, would you say, Joe?
It makes it difficult because you've got options where you can even have some wingers that you could put in at centre.
You don't want square pegs in round holes, mate. You don't need to do
no, that. but the great thing we've got in this country is we've got people who are very versatile, and if we need some speed, then you've got likes of like possibly Hanley or someone there that's got some real quickness to them. But it's a tough one because you can have Dom Young on one wing, aren't you? So that takes one of the positions up, and one thing we are blessed with is wingers. So yeah, the problem is with the good thing, should I say, that Hanley's got? Not Hanley, sorry.
We are talking Hanley, Joe.
No, I'm talking about the other Hanley. Not Hanley.
Ash Handley. Anyway, Joe,
Yes.
We'll come back to you when you've got your brain's back in gear. We'll go to Steph. You just have a moment. Clearly, the sun's gone to you, mate. Wow, dear Lord, Steph. I mean, look, I mean, I'm coming to you last because people would say you're incredibly biased, and I wanted to get a flavour of non-leopards. My take, before Steph gives his take, is that look, I don't think we can defend to a win against Australia and New Zealand. And I think, with the greatest respect to Jake Wardle, many, a lot of Warriors out there going, you're having a laugh, Jake Wardle. Well, look, is Jake Wardle going to frighten Australia and New Zealand in an attacking sense? I don't know if he will. Whereas if you look at the way Handley played that, and then you'd have Farmouth on the other side, for me, the only way you're going to beat the best teams in the world is if you try and put them on the back foot with what you can do. And that's why I think that I was blown away by that performance. And like Reggie rightly says, if he can maintain it, for me, dream team last year. Over to you, Steph. I know you'll be slightly biased, but I think it was right that we just positioned it because I think there's a lot of support there for Hanley if he carries on playing like that.
Yeah, and I think there is a bit of caution with it in terms of, that FC team was quite depleted. We've only seen a small sample size of Hanley this year so far. But he was in the dream team last year in centre, displacing a lot of good centres. And what we've seen so far from him this year has been, really, really, really good. And his attack's brilliant, but for me, it's his kick chase that's the most impressive thing. That's, he's formed a great. Him and Charlie really complement each other. Hanley had a good partnership with Brand last year. But what I've seen so far with him and Charlie has been superb. They work so well together, chasing Cook's kicks down. And that's putting a lot of pressure on teams, which is what you want. And then you throw into the mix, his try-scoring ability as well. But like I say, for me, he needs to be doing it against the top teams, which he is more than capable of doing. And if he does that, then he'd have to be in the top, wouldn't he? He'd have to be.
I think so, absolutely. Clearly, Nigel has seen that we're going to be talking the Challenge Cup. Nigel on Facebook at the moment, pretty filthy with the state of the Challenge Cup and the way the Rugby Football League handling Championship Rugby. Clearly a Championship Rugby League fan. Don't forget, if you've not discovered it already, we do cover the Championship with Craig Lingard every Wednesday night live on our YouTube channel, Super League Raw. Craig Lingard, Championship Rugby League, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. You might like that one, Nige, if you're a Championship supporter. And I agree with you. It is a major, major problem, and it has been underfunded. And yes, it's a worry. But hey, we're not going to solve that tonight, are we? Also in the chat tonight, we've got Mark Waterson. Hello to you, Mark. Somebody's done the QR code and they're actually considering becoming a member. Do it. You won't regret it. You really, really won't. Mark said, if Lee make the top 6, who misses out? I think it's all on for the top 6. I really do. I think that's too hard to call. I think we probably need to get another 8 rounds in, and I think things will start to become a little bit more apparent. Would you agree, boys?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think
too close.
There's a lot to see. There's a lot of teams that have got recovering from bad injury situations, and because it's so condensed this year, it really is. Anything could happen to any team to knock them out of that 6. So too early to say, I think. Yeah, but I agree. Next 8 weeks we'll know a lot more.
We will indeed. Right, okay, let's move the show on at a pace. Let's get into this. I just picked up on this week. Yellow cards. The yellow card situation. A lot of people have been commenting on social media with regards to cards and match review panels this week. So I thought, you know what, we don't normally tip into this. We've been very fluid this year on Super League Raw Weekly. We're trying to make it fresh every week. We change what we're talking about, every week, and I think that's making for a far more interesting show for you guys who watch us every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and of course those who tune in on the podcast for Wednesday morning. So let's talk these yellow cards. First of all, Semi Valamé at Castleford. Unnecessary contact with a player, 3 match. It's an arbitrary 3-match ban whenever you put your hands on an injured player. Did anybody see? It looked to me as if he was more concerned for the player than anything else. I found that it's that grey area again. Has he put his hands on an injured player? Yes. Has he done so? I mean, we have seen in the past players try to be lifted up and this, that, the other. I didn't see that. Did anybody got a take on the Valamé one? Do you think?
From what I saw, I thought he was initially going to put him in the recovery position. That was my take, or just checking he was all right. He kind of bent down to see, and he did touch him, and that's a no-no. So I think it was kind of partially obscured what he went to do, I think, from what I remember. And then I think somebody stood in and said, don't touch, let their guys deal with it. So I think, as you say, Dave, from what I saw of it, he was more concerned rather than being angry that he was feigning an injury.
Yeah. I feel for Ryan Carr because, of course, last week he had the George Hurst one, which we did an interview with Ryan for Captain's Run, and it was one of those where unless he disappeared, what was George Hurst supposed to do? He got a ban. They're not really in a situation where they can go and appeal that because it is what it is. I just felt it was a little bit harsh, I have to say. James Bentley, our James, he has got form, bless him. We saw it as a red in commentary, me and Greg in the stadium. We thought it was a very good. Yourself?
Yeah, red all day. The things when you look at because there's been a lot of people really disputing whether things should be a yellow or a red, and one thing. So I looked it up, and it said that clear high tackles, are a yellow, but dangerous contact would go up as a red, and then the thing that you got to distinguish is what's dangerous contact, and I think getting an accidental high shot is definitely a yellow, but when someone goes in and quite aggressively as James does quite often. I think not enough reds are branded out, but for some reason, for whatever reason, referees don't seem to like to give them these days.
No, and look, we always say we want maximum players on the field, but I think there comes points where your safety got away with one. Steph, I mean, 6 points and a 1-match suspension for James. Not only do I think he was quite fortunate on the field, I think he's been very fortunate off it as well.
Well, yeah, when you compare it to the Valamé one, I know there's precedent set for that. I still don't agree with it. I think there's a big difference when you're genuinely looking for a player's concern and when you're doing it out of spite, thinking the player's feigning an injury. And it's very easily distinguishable as well. So I don't understand why we can't do that. On Bentley, ridiculous he didn't get a red card. One thing you want to see red cards for, and I think 99.9% of fans will agree with this, is if you're deliberately going out to hurt an opposition player. The game's tough enough as it is. We don't need deliberate actions. And when it comes to bending, limbs in different directions to cause injury, that's that could have put him out for Ockenbar out for the season. So for me, it was a grubby thing to do by Bentley. He deserved to walk, and he should have got much more penalty points than what he did in the disciplinary.
Right.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees that James was very lucky. And going back to Joel's point, Jaden Ockenball, of course, got a yellow for his clothesline on Josh Fulish. Josh bounced up, stayed on the field. That probably helped him. I'm comfortable with the yellow on that. I think we the members saw that, and now I've started to do a roundup now on the WhatsApp group. My take on it. I won't ruin that for the non-members because obviously it's a members thing. But I gave my view on that on there, and I'll leave it there. In terms of Jackson Hastings. Oh dear me. I think it's fair to say that Jackson got a little hot under the collar, Greg, because his team was getting well and truly smashed by the Tigers. It was a bad day at the office if you were a Saints fan because Tigers mullered them. probably got under the collar. It was a bad one. It was right on Weaver's head, right and appropriate. That not only did he get a yellow card, but he's also got a grade D dangerous throw because it was out of control. He landed him on his head. 2-match suspension.
Yeah.
I don't think Saints can have any arguments, can they?
Not at all, no. And that is the one thing with Jackson Hastings. We saw him get sin-binned against Warrington early in the season for taking somebody off the ball. He sometimes lets his frustrations get in the way. But no, you can't have any argument with that one, certainly. And again, maybe lucky he didn't get more, like James Bentley.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Steph, he could have got a red.
Yeah, it was on the it was a borderline red, that one, and again, it's dangerous, isn't it? You can't really say that was intentional. I don't think you could. There's a case for him to say, "Yeah, I just got it wrong." I don't think he was deliberately going out to hurt Weaver, but it was a borderline. It was 100% a yellow, borderline red. That one for me.
Yeah, it was very, very close. And then I saw a bit of nonsense over the Sam Esser one in the Wigan KO. Look, we've had a lot to say. We're not going to go over that again tonight. We're not. What I would say, which we didn't say last week and we'll say this week, congratulations to the Wigan players who made the debut. They made a Super League debut. Congratulations to each and every one of you. We've got to call it straight. We call it the way we see it. But, many congratulations to you guys who made your debut. That's a day that you and your families will remember forever. But the Sam Esser one, I mean, people saying it was as bad as Hastings and he should have got a ban. No, it wasn't. He put him on his back. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he'd have put him on his head, he would have got the same grade. He would have been done. But bottom line is, it was a bad one. It was almost like a German suplex, wasn't it? And but he did land on his back, and I think that's the mitigation with regards to that, and that's probably why he's not been done. That said, does anybody on the panel think he should have been cited by the match review panel? Should any sanctions have been given to Somerset?
Definitely, he should have been cited for it, and he should have received points. So if you're getting 1 point for an innocuous late hit on the passer, I can't see how that doesn't get cited. And more so that it feeds now into narrative that because they're in the cup final, that's why he's not been cited. And I have to agree with that. I think that's got to be the reason, because if a slight late hit off the ball is getting cited, how that card is just blows my mind.
Yeah, I
mean, what are you talking about?
It's the one where Sam Essay, I think it was. Oh God, who was it? It was. On Hampshire, where he suplexed him over and he's landing him on his back.
That for me would be a red because it's dangerous contact. It's a dangerous tackle.
But it wasn't. What my point is, it wasn't the same as Hastings, because Hastings he did land on his head. So
it doesn't matter though. It was the intent.
No, I get that, but it does matter in terms of, from a refereeing's perspective, in terms of the seriousness of the incident. Don't get me wrong, he was out. It could have been a lot worse, but you cannot referee on a what if. That you've got to ref on the fact, and the fact was he landed on his back. He didn't land on his head. Had he landed on his head, it'd have been a carbon copy of the Hastings one, and it should have been an exact same sanction. And I think that's where, for me, it was a bit different. And I agree with you, Steph. Should it have been cited? Was it worthy of points? Was he in control of the tackle? Absolutely not. And it's an interesting one. The one that really caught my eye, boys, was Jack Welsby's. Definitely yellow. I mean, but again, I mean, I thought shoulders have been banned in rugby league. I mean, that has got. I was a little bit. I mean, it was a bad day for Jack all round. It could have got a lot worse, couldn't it? But I mean, your thoughts on that one?
Shoulder to shoulder, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he's lucky boy. Really do.
Very lucky.
Very lucky. So there you go. Just like I say, because I've seen a lot of chat on social media in terms of have people been dealt with fairly. No, I thought it'd be interesting to get the boys' take on it tonight in terms of that. I think all of us agree that the yellows that were given were yellows. There was a couple that were borderline red, and yet again the match review panel. It'd be lovely to see the meeting. The actual footage. I think I remember Derek saying, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a camera in the match review panel discussions? That'd be interesting, just to get clarity on exactly what's discussed." And I think if we had that level of transparency, I think we'd all sleep better in our beds at night. But hey ho, we'll just have to sleep with one eye open. Right, let's get into this. Banging or hanging? Yes, it's a good time to do a bit of banging and hanging in it, boys. Let's get into it. Quite a few actually to get through this evening. Let's start at the very beginning. Let's start here. Saint Helens. Let's stick with the Saints. Here we go. Ignatius Parsi goes and Daniel Suluka Fafita comes in from the Canterbury Bulldogs. 26-year-old prop. Go on, right in his prompt. In fact, you could argue he's probably 2 years to 3 years off it. 46 appearances in the NRL, one try, win percentage 65%, 112 kilograms, 6'4". What I would say, boys, with regards to this particular signing, far more mobility than the man that he's replacing in Ignatius Parsi. Greg, this looks good business to me. Your thoughts?
Absolutely banging. One of the reasons that I tipped Saints to do really, really well this season was because of the pack that they'd signed. And of course, they got the injury to Host early doors that saw his season over. They've seen other injuries as well, and they've not quite been fine. But this is an absolute banging sizing. The lad's a beast. 26, will be coming over here to prove himself. If they keep him for a couple of years, probably getting him just as he's coming into his prime as a prop. So, yeah, I think this is great business for Saints, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Joel, you'll have seen a bit of him in the NRL. Like I say, he's a unit, the boy. I think this could go down as I've seen enough of this guy to suggest this will go down as one of those better signings coming over from the NRL.
Absolutely. I think he's going to have the Alex Walmsley kind of impact. He's a ginormous human being. And the fact that he's 112 kilos, he's still got a couple of years left until he's even in his ultimate prime, because, as we know, props tend to develop a bit later than the backs. And the mobility-wise, because of his youth, like you say, is just absolutely perfect. He's going to be very dangerous, and the fact that the win percentage ratio up there is mid-60s shows that he does his job extremely well. And they're going to get exactly what they need, because unfortunately Parsi got a bit too big. He was a bit slow, and he was only good for 5-10 minute stints, unfortunately. Whereas this is going to be a completely different acquisition.
Absolutely. Carol Moore in the chat saying that she understands the disciplinary system better now. Having listened to Carrie on Super League Royal Ladies Tackle Talk this week, it was a great presentation that Carrie put together for this week's episode, explaining how that all works, how they get discounted points for fines and things like that. Very, very interesting. Great stuff from Carrie. A fine debut indeed from Carrie. So if you've not listened to Ladies Tackle Talk, make sure you do. Nigel Bennett in the chat, Steph, with regards to this particular one. So a lot of Bulldogs fans commenting that we're glad to see the back of him. They said the same about Tom Amon, Nige. So I wouldn't really read too much into that, Chief, if I'm being particularly honest on that one. I don't think they were too fair on Tom Amon, and look what he's back to his best now at KR. So would you say the proof will be in the pudding, Steph?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know enough about the lad to comment whether it's a good or a bad one for Saints. Wait and see for me. I've not seen enough of the lad, but one thing's for sure, Saints needed a bit of middle, as do a few other clubs, including my own. So hopefully it'll be a good signing for Saints.
Have you got your head under your pillow when you go to sleep? Because I hope it's from your perspective, I'm sure you're hoping it's nonsense that he's being linked to League, Mr. Parsi.
Oh, that's not going to happen. I'm not worried in the slightest.
Yeah, I've just seen a lot of people commenting, is he off to Lee? I'm thinking, surely not. surely not. Greg, this was a massive surprise this week. We did a link to the official video of it. Andrew Abdo, leaving the NRL at the end of July. This is bad for the game of rugby league. He's done a phenomenal job down there in the NRL. He's off to Tennis Australia, which, let's be fair, is a step up. You know, we wouldn't like to think that as rugby league fans, but on the international stage, it is fully deserving. But he's got a lot of work to do with the TV deal down in Australia, and you would think now that we have a deadline for NRL investment, because I think once he departs, it was crystal for me that Volandis wants all these matters completed before he moves on. Yeah,
in a way, it's banging, because it may well bring everything forward, and we hope it does. Obviously, you know, it's a great move for him, and I'm sure they've got strength in depth over in the Australian game. I think they would probably have already lined up a replacement. But yeah, going back to your original point, Dave, that probably brings that timetable forward by a few weeks, I would have thought.
Yeah. I think you're right. It'd be very, very interesting to see what happens there. The worst kept secret in Pontefract has come to light. Brad Singleton departs Gasford Tigers. I think we've all known this for many months now. Banging a hanging for Gasford Tigers that they've lost Brad Singleton. Joel?
I think, unfortunately, it's hanging because the direction the club's wanting to go, and after seeing the performance they did on at the weekend, it shows that they're not happy being at the bottom towards the bottom of the table. They want to rise up it, and that's wonderful. It's great to hear, but they have to make moves like that in order for that to be the case. So, it's a shame for him because I'm sure he would love to have played on, but it's something that needed to be done.
Absolutely. Let's talk Hull FC, the gift that gives and gives and gives, which of course is Hull FC. A couple of things have happened there this week. Let's start with Aidan Caesar. Aidan Caesar dropped Steph for the game against Leeds, citing his performances. No issues with that. And then rumour has it he was spotted at Headingley watching the Leeds Huddersfield game as opposed to travelling to the LSV to support his own team. Your thoughts on that, Steph?
Like you say, I think there's no issues with, no one's beyond being dropped, are they? If you put some bad performances, I think that sends a good message to the rest of the team that no one's above, poor performances. That's exactly right. In terms of going to Leeds, I can't really comment. I don't know the reason. I know there was a bad accident that evening on the M6. So I'm sorry, M62. So he might not have been able to get over in time and decided to go and watch Leeds with some of his mates. I don't know. It doesn't look good, does it? It's not something I would probably have done. I'd have stayed at home if that was the case. But it's a him decision, not a me decision. So
it is a him decision. Hey, who knows? Leeds are looking for an halfback next year. Anyway, we'll just leave that one there. Greg, Herman SASA was in the 21-man squad for Hull FC. I never felt he'd play, but it was good to see him back in the 21. The Hermanator is not far away. Maybe round 13, maybe round 14 or 15. But isn't it great to think that Big Herman is not far off?
Yeah, and if he can stay fit, he'll be a great asset to the early birds. I'm glad he's back. Like you said, I think in another conversation we had earlier, we want to see the best players on the pitch at all times, and injuries are part and parcel of the game, as is disciplinary. But he'll be a great. He's the forward that you need, whether he's been off the bench or he's starting. He does make some inroads, doesn't he, into defences. So if he can stay injury free, that's something for Hull to build around for the rest of the season. Get some more players back, and let's see where they go from there.
No, absolutely. Great to have Big Herman back. We're missing Big Herman. Yeah. We like the big bopper down the middle, and there's none better than Big Herman. It just wouldn't be magic without him, boys. It wouldn't be magic without the Hermanator. That's all I'm saying. It'd be wonderful to see him back on the field of play. This might have surprised you, Joel. Me and Steph have been talking about this one for a while. It's now being confirmed. Bailey Hodgson is going to be a black and white in 20, the feeder club that is Lee, where FC are concerned. It strikes again. But I think when you compare and contrast some of the business that Hull FC have done in the recent past, this looks exceptional business for me.
It is. He's a great player. It's he's never. I don't think he's ever put a bad performance in. I'm sure Steph can tell me if I'm wrong there, but I'm sure that it's pretty much always been, at least a 7 or 8 out of 10. And you literally cannot ask for any more than that, and that's great. And I think Hull FC have in the past couple of years have been quite smart with some of the recruitment. Let's not talk coaches, but we're talking players. They've sent to get the business done right, and they seem to know what they're doing there. But this adds a different type of spice. This is a younger player who's very hungry and very talented. So that'll be very good for them moving forward, provided he can stay fit, play well, and have a long-term contract.
Dangerous player, mate. And I and you know, Steph, I have to say, I think that this puts incredible additional pressure on David Armstrong, because you know Armstrong now has got to hit his potential, because there's a lot of Lee Leopards fans who really like Bailey Hodgson, what he brings. He's a no-nonsense, hard-running one who can find a gap, great pace, never lets you down. Would you agree this puts additional pressure on Armstrong now to find his straps?
Yeah, but I think that could be a good thing for Armstrong. I think he's already got that pressure with Bailey in the team at the moment as well. So competition for place is always good in that respect. But there's no doubt that Bailey's a big loss if he does go to FC. If it is confirmed, and O'Malley was very shady about whether that would actually happen next year. It's quite amazing that it gets leaked to the press the week that they play Lee. A bit like Asiata happened as well when they were playing Leeds that week. But yeah, magic how that happens. But no doubt, Bailey's been a great servant to Lee. And one thing you can't begrudge him is the opportunity of the starting role, which I think Hull FC would have had to have offered him for him to go there. That being a Hull lad as well. I have no doubt Bailey will speak very highly of his time at Lee, and you know Lee have probably been the making of him in terms of his career. But he goes with our best wishes. He's never let Lee down, that's for sure.
No, and it also puts pressure on Will Price, no question, because Bailey Hodgson, for me, is a talented lad. No question about that whatsoever. Reggie, potential problems at the wire. Obviously, Yates out for the season. Fewlis carrying a neck injury. That's going to be looked at. Last year it was ACLs, and this year it would appear it's neck injuries at Warrington. Williams will return at the back end of the season. And that'll be a big call for Sam Burgess, especially if Ewan Irwin continues to play the way he's playing at this moment in time. That'll be an interesting call when that happens in terms of who's in and who's out. And also, you know, Danny Walker was holding his ribs. He got a big shot. I was very surprised to see Danny Walker make it through the second half. There's definitely a rib issue there with Danny. He was breathing heavy at the end. All of a sudden, injuries hitting Warrington, mate.
Well, yeah. Well, you know, why should Warrington escape the curse? Every other team seems to have had it, and it, you know, no, a team is very, very lucky if it goes through a season without injuries being suffered. Yeah, but isn't it? It is strange. Last season it was ACLs. This year it's neck injuries. I think, you know, Fewlis especially seems to be the victim of a lot of high shots, and he does usually bounce up and kind of shake them off. But obviously, one too far in this game. It opens up opportunities for, you know, when Kai Taylor-Ace fit to come back, but also Lachlan Webster, who I thought had a really good game the other week. I think made one mistake towards the end where he dropped a kick, and that was it. Looked very sure-footed. Yates, yeah, great defensively, a great solid prop. You know, but Williams, I think what we saw on Sunday with Warrington was that Leon Hayes actually, a lot of people thought he had a quiet game, but he controlled the game really well. He did nothing spectacular. He put a few kicks in, but he controlled the game really well, and he opened up a few spaces, and he combined well with Irwin, who also, you know, scored that try and also created space for players to run into. So that will be the decision. Do you bring Williams back? Do you bring Sneed back after you know, the two youngsters in the middle did so well, admittedly against a team that's in the lower reaches of Super League at this moment in time, but you know, you still got to put performance on, haven't you? I think Yates. I think Fewlis will be a big miss. I think we said on commentary that, you know, he's one of those underrated players, Fewlis, who never lets you down. Has been looking really, really solid at fullback, and can play a number of positions across the back. His footwork is phenomenal, as we saw with his try on Sunday. So I think Fewlis is going to be a big miss.
If he's out, that's not
if he's out, if the rumours are true,
not been confirmed, but
it does give a chance. Yeah, it does give a good chance to Webster to show what he can do, and obviously Kai Taylor-Ace come back after injury. So you know, we'll have to see, won't we? That's why we have a squad game.
Well, that's saying Lockie Webster's already played a couple of times this year. It'll be very interesting to see how they go. Roger Tuaraza Sheck is out with an ACL, Joel, and will miss the start at 27 for Wakey. This is a big hanger, this one, isn't it?
Massive, because I think they were hedging the bets on him certainly starting and making a big impact on the season. But the good thing is, Wakey are a very good squad now. They've clearly shown that they're not the squad that they were years ago. They've got things in place, and I'm sure that they'll hold their own. And when he comes back in, it'll be a great boost, because it'll be like having a brand new. Well, it is a brand new signing, but it's like having another brand new signing midway through the season. And whenever he comes back, he'll hit the straps really hard, because he's just that type of player.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But like I say, that's a real hammer blow for Wakey Trinity. That's about it. I can't think of anything else that I've seen that is worthy of note, gentlemen. So let's bring out the little lad. Here we go.
What Would Oliver Say is proudly sponsored by South Coast Lane Carpets. From shag pile to vinyl, nylon to wool, you are guaranteed to find the right fit for your home. Contact them today and tell them Oliver sent you. This is What Would Oliver Say at Super League Raw. I was away this weekend, so I didn't get to watch many of the games, but when I checked the results, I noticed how well the newly promoted teams are doing. Are they exceeding their expectations, or do we just underestimate how good they actually really are? At the start of the season, I thought maybe they got a bit lucky for the couple of weeks, but now we're like halfway into the season. You can see they're improving themselves again and again, week in, week out, and deserve to be in the Super League. Personally, my standout players from the teams are the likes of Liam Harris for York, Joe Mellor for Bradford, Ollie Ashelbot from Toulouse. They are all experienced and have led by example and performed in important moments and helped the side along the way. So maybe the real surprise isn't how well these teams are doing. Maybe the surprise is that we didn't expect them to be this good in the first place. What do you think, Super League Raw?
There you go. What do we think, Super League Raw? Steph, what are your thoughts? Is Ollie right? The newly promoted sides are attributing themselves well?
I think they are, yeah. I think there's a few people with egg on the faces at the moment, thinking, we'd have another, at least one of them on 0 points. So considering they've all got wins, they've all been competitive in most games they've played. There's established Super League sides that have had bigger scores put on them than what those three clubs have. Been more embarrassed than those three clubs have. So I think they're acquitting themselves really well. And when you throw into that, they were, at the tail end of the transfer market, getting what was, the scraps that was left over basically for a lot of them. I'm really excited for next season. When they go through a full recruitment cycle and they can sign some, be active in the transfer market when the other clubs are. So I think he's spot on. They've been really good for Super League.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, they'll get another transfer cycle as well, which will allow them to become even more competitive in 2027. Greg, we were treated to a phenomenal duel between Josh Smith and Wonga Blake on Sunday.
Yeah.
If a camera had followed that for the full, I'd say 80 minutes, but it was best part of 2 hours. That's another story. But that duel, I mean, it had everything. It had cover tackles, it had big hits, it was a quality duel between two great players in form, wasn't it?
It certainly was, yeah. And what a great question from Ollie. Let me just say, to start with, a great question from him, a great point. But yeah, they were tit for tat. They were trying to outdo each other. I mean, Smith is one of those signings that didn't really set the world on fire at Warrington, and he's proved himself to be a really, really good acquisition. And the same with Blake. We've said this for a few times.
We haven't said he had his problems at Saints and all that, have we?
So I'm not going to say it. No.
Okay.
But it's given him a new lease of life, and he's been one of their standout performers this season, Andy Wonga Blake. So I hate you, Dave. Oh yeah, it was a great tussle from two players who maybe one who flew under the radar, one who's had a bit of bad press, and they proved that the pair of them are Super League ready, and decent players, let's say that. But yeah, Ashall Bot at Toulouse. And I owe Toulouse an apology because I didn't think they'd do very well. So I, for one, owe them a huge apology, having written them off before the season started. And you know, I'm more than happy to apologise and say, well done, lads. And Ashall Bolt, what a revelation.
I mean, what I would say is that I think all three, Joel, have shown absolute heart and togetherness. I think that's what we're seeing. That all three of those squads are clearly together in this project, and that's why it's transferring its way onto the field in terms of the competitive performances they're putting on.
Absolutely, and I concur with Reggie's point. I also didn't think Toulouse would be as good as they have been, because you look on paper and the squad doesn't look that great. But, you know, it's clearly proven over the time in Super League, you don't have to have the best squad as in players, but you just need to have a good team. And that's what these three teams have definitely done. They've played as a team, and you don't have to have the best players in the world. You've just got to play with great determination, and it's why they're so rightly far above where we are. And I'm completely and utterly embarrassed to be a Huddersfield fan. It's really a 13-team comp with somebody else making up the numbers, and it's a real unfortunate thing. But you know, they have been a breath of fresh air, something that we've sorely needed, and very much so looking forward to seeing how they can progress, because clearly they'll have more money next year. Well, we would hope they would. That they can maybe just sign a couple more extra players, and they may do what Wakefield did, what Lee have done. Even OKR, what they've managed to achieve. You know, they were regularly down at the bottom of the table. Look, now world champions. So anything is possible. The skies are the limit, and it's been fantastic to watch. And long may it last for them.
Long may it last, and of course, maybe also a little bit of Roy Castle motivation in the dressing room, dedication. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a bit of dedication to the cause. You can be Cheryl Baker to my Roy anytime, Joel. Anyway, we'll move on to the team of the week. We'll get round number 12 out of the way, and then we'll start building up to the Challenge Cup final. Here is the team of the week. Disclaimer, get ready for filthiness from the Robins. No Robins in our team of the week. They didn't play anyone. They played the reserve side. They're not in our team of the week for that reason. No. Can't be happening. Not allowed. Not doing it. They're not in our team, albeit Mikey Lewis played really well against the reserve team. So did Jez Litton. So did some of the players. Jack Broadbent was another one who had a really good accomplished game. You can only beat what's in front of you, but you're not getting him in team of the week when you're playing the reserve side. Not happening. Not here on Super League Raw. Never in a day. Never. No. Here comes team of the week. The Super League Raw Team of the Week is proudly sponsored by the Pentagon Motor Group. Visit their website today to find the make and model that you desire at the right price.
It's the Super League Raw Team of the Week for round number 12. Here we go again at fullback. The Womble loves you, PLT. Oh yes, you can hear Michael Jackson singing it, can't you? Rarely does the sequel beat the original, but this was a much improved performance by PLT week on week. At 2 is the man chasing down Hall, Josh Charnley. If ever there was a running representation of a club biscuit, it's Charnley. Loads of chocolate on this. His rugby league swag bag. He's full of tries, but he hasn't finished raiding the try line just yet. At 3 is another Josh, but this time it's Smith of the Wolves, who continues to perform with the stage presence akin to the late great Bruce Forsyth. Didn't he do well? At 4 is Jamila Hanley, who is primed and ready for an assault on the England starting 13 on this showing. And if McDermott is not watching with interest, it's like becoming a vegetarian, folks. It will be one missed steak. Oh yes, at 5 is Jason Gary, who destroyed Saints on the left edge just like a cross-eyed teacher can't control his pupils. Neither could Saints control Gary. At 6 is the man who silenced his own supporters with a man-of-the-match performance, Brodie Croft. Croft is as committed to the Rhinos in 26 as Rod Hull to Emu's bum. Could he sign off with a grand final win? At 7 is perhaps the surprise of the round. Guillermo Aspiro Bichet showed he has more faces than Joan Rivers. A brilliant adaptation into scrum half by Bichet. Magnifique, sir. At 8, and retaining his place week on week, is Gaius Fiatilli of Trinity. If he was a barrel of whiskey, he would be priceless with summer gold colour, soft buttery vanilla nose, and waves of salty caramel with an effervescent burst of pineapple, cherry, and grapefruit on the palate. Quality! At 9 is the man who periodically lives up to the atomic number 79 and the initials AU. Oh yeah, that's right, Ashton Golding had the right chemistry, Mercy Saints, to aid in a 24-carat win. At 10 is Michelangeleski, who still wears his horn with pride prior to morphing into a bear at the end of the season. The Rhinos will be hoping for more of this in weeks to come. At 11 is Seth Nicotimo, who is nothing like an orange and white clownfish, and he doesn't need any help finding home. No, Trinity firmly have Seth in the keep net, and what a prize he is. At 12 is last year's Dream Team sensation, James McDonald. Just like a circumciser keeps his tips, James will remain in the heart of the Rhinos for memories of displays like this for years to come. And at 13, yet again, is Ben Curry. If the difference between ooh and ah are 3 inches, then clearly being 6'2" is the right height to get the crowd going ah each week. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your team of the week for round number 12.
Yes, another team of the week is in the record books, gentlemen. There it is in all of its splendour. Very nice indeed. Good to see Tigers plays in there, Steph.
Yeah, and thoroughly deserved as well. PLT, what a comeback that's been from his, disaster of a debut at KR to that performance. It was chalk and cheese, wasn't it? From that, he's really settled into that cast side now, which is great for them. And Gary, we've already mentioned him tonight already in terms of other clubs looking at him, and his agent will definitely be knocking at the door of Castleford saying, I've got some interest, I think, and trying to get his contract improved because he's showing he can be a real finisher in this league. And Ash Goulding, he's had his critics, hasn't he? But he had a great performance against Saints. I thought he was better than Clark, and that's saying something, isn't it? When you're playing better than the England hooker in this game.
Well,
so yeah, thoroughly deserved.
Well, Clark's a top 10 in the Man of Steel rankings, mate. So you're doing something right if you can outshine him. Reggie, happy with the team of the week, mate?
Yeah, I'm surprised you've not put Mikey in there for his hat-trick, mate. I think that's a bit cruel. No, yeah, more than happy. I'm glad to see Ben Curry in there. He must be knocking on the door every week with his consistency. He had a superb game. Even being moved out to the centres at one point in that game on Sunday. So I'm glad to see Ben Curry in there. Of course, I'm glad to see Josh Smith, but Josh Charnley, he's evergreen, isn't he? He's still banging the tries over. Him and Ryan Hall are having a right ding-dong battle at the top of that table. So yeah, I'm delighted. That's a strong team for what was on offer. James McDonald, you know what you're going to get from him week in, week out as well. So yeah, more than happy, mate.
The mad thing is, Joel, all 3 of the Rhinos are leaving at the end of the season. I mean, it's a massive headache, isn't it? If you're a Rhinos fan, you've got to be concerned because at the moment, people are saying, that behind the scenes things are in motion and players are coming in. But, the longer the season goes without any announcements for 2027, the more nervous the Southlanders are going to be, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're going to be because they've not lived up to the name for the past few years. They kind of always expect to be within the top 4, and they're playing some extremely good rugby. I'm actually surprised you put any Rhinos on the team of the week this year for the same reason for Robbins.
They actually played Super League opposition. It's just
you say that, but I think Siddle under 12s would have done a better job, if I'm being honest.
Well, that's a reflection on Huddersfield, isn't it, mate? At least.
Well, yeah.
It was as good as you could put out there. I've tried to spare your blushes tonight, mate, if I'm being perfectly honest, because as defences go, dear Lord, in the present political climate, Taiwan need a better one. But anyway, that's by the by. It's a bit political, that isn't it? On Super League roll. Anyway, we'll move on. Like I said earlier on, that's the team of the week. Again, great to see so many. Yes, Alex Mallow had another good game, nice. But hey, take your 3 men and run. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy, Nige. You've got 3 Tigers in your team a week there. Don't be greedy, Nige. But no, don't forget, we are at Club Wembley, our Super League Raw this weekend. We're going to be there. Keep your eyes peeled for us on the Friday and the Saturday because Super League Raw will be live. We're doing a road trip, me and Joel, down to the capital. There'll be plenty of good videos being put out on our feeds. Keep your eye out for them. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is very good at Wembley, and we'll be doing some out of Club Wembley with our very nervous Wigan Warrior and Hull KR fans from Club Wembley. Maybe the Lionesses bar, I don't know, will be somewhere in there. And like I say, we'll make sure we try and capture as much of that as we possibly can for you throughout the weekend. Don't forget, of course, 2 people. I think it's John Glover who won our competition to come with us to Wembley free of charge as a member. Of course, he's a member, but he won the competition. And we've got another competition, of course, and that is a full weekend pass with Super League Raw at Village Street at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. We're in Village Street, padded seats on halfway. It's going to be a great weekend, and for as little as £5, you can enter the draw, and you might be joining Super League Raw at Magic Weekend in the best seats of the house in Village Street in a very exclusive part of the stadium. So if you fancy a flutter, if you fancy supporting grassroots rugby league, because that's where the monies go to, then yeah, like I say, get in part of that, do the QR code, go to the website, www.superleagueraw.com, and maybe you will be coming to Magic the same way that John Glover is coming to Wembley. Right, let's do it. It's the Challenge Cup. It's a showpiece event in our sport. 60,000 expected at Wembley for this one as the Wigan Warriors take on Hull KR this week. Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait for this. Should be a great occasion. Again, just nonsense chats keep going on about scheduling. Had Wakey had beaten Wigan, which they very nearly did, and had Wakey had got through St Helens, then they'd have been going to Toulouse the week before the Challenge Cup final. Could have happened. I mean, for me, it doesn't matter who you play the week before, especially as our competition has proved this year, where teams are beating teams. Saints have just lost to Castleford. Castleford beat Wigan. York beat KR. All right, KR at the minute in great form, but is there any fixture that you could do before a Challenge Cup weekend based on what we've seen this year? Yes, the probability that the top 6 this year might compete for the Challenge Cup next year, but it's not a guaranteed in knockout football. Just saying. Anyway, we move on. Right, boys. In terms of a showpiece spectacle, in terms of arguably, Wigan are going to be able to put out pretty much bar Bevan French, their first string. It is a fitting final in terms of what it should offer. It should be a belter. We've had 2 great grand finals between these 2 teams already. Let's get into some detail. And you'll see I've underlined the word competitive here. The last 5 competitive matches between these 2 teams, and here they go. Of course, last week, last year's grand final, 24-6 to KR. The year in the same season, of course, round 22 at the Brick Community, KR beat Wigan 10-6. Round 7 last season, Wigan beat KR at Craven Park 28-12. The grand final of 2024, 9-2 in favour of Wigan. And round 25 of 2024, Wigan 24-20. When I put this slide together, Greg, what's really interesting about these last 5 results in competitive rugby league is when Wigan were beating KR, with the exception of that round 7 one, very, very close, 24-29-2. They had a good win at Craven Park in round 7. But KR, you can see there the way that KR have been growing. I mean, the one at Craven Park probably doesn't lend to that argument, but you can actually see the progression of KR in these results.
Of course you can, yeah. Not many teams are going to run a good Wigan team close and beat them like KR have done. And it was a big shot in the arm, that grand final win. Shot in the arm for the sport, that we finally had a new name on the Super League trophy after just having 4 winners over 30 years. So, yeah, the progression at Hull KR, when you consider where they were 10 or so years ago, they were getting to Wembley a few years ago and getting battered at Wembley. So that they've been in. This is their 3rd final in about 5 years, is it? They lost to Lee and then they beat us last year. So yeah, the progress at Hull KR is it's storybook, isn't it? And you've got to take your hat off to the people who run that club and to the bringing in the players he brought in. Willie Peters has brought that bit of extra magic that maybe they needed to get the players to gel and to perform to the best. Mikey Lewis, we all know what Mikey Lewis is capable of, whether we love him or whether we hate him. We know what he's capable of. He's a match winner, and that's what these two sides possess, match winners. And Bevan French missing on Saturday, if he is going to be a big miss for Wigan, I think.
Well, there's a lot of kidology going on, or maybe not. The rumours persist. Is he, isn't he? I mean, I do know that Wigan have done absolutely everything they could to get him back on the field as quickly as possible in the hope that he plays this game. Whether that's been successful or not, we'll find out when the squads are announced. No doubt about that whatsoever. But you can see there the tide has changed. And actually, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you consider that, of course, the game that was let's be fair, a training session last week, they've won the last three against the Wigan Warriors, and again, that's laying down a marker. There's no question about that. Let's get into some real detail. And boys, by all means, pick out of this what you want. This is the tale of the tape. This is the tale of the tape this season thus far. Wigan 6th currently, KR 4th. Of course, KR still got that game in hand. Look at the odds. Wigan 11-10. Currently, KR 4-6 favourites. Let's start there, Joel. This, I think, is the first game that KR have gone into against Wigan, forgetting last week. Mm-hmm. This is the first competitive game that KR have gone in against Wigan where they're favourites. Absolute 100%. They go into this with the expectation that they win this game. Is that fair?
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely. And for very good reason as well, because, the past couple of years of results, bar the odd one game, has been pretty close. And then when they won earlier on in 25, it was pretty close. And then it was a much bigger scoreline further on in the year. So I think that KR have got the form behind them. They've got the continuity as of they've had a full squad from last week or this week just gone. And they've got a lot of things in their favour. And the fact that they're the most recent winners of the Cup, I think also, plays into the hands. The only kind of concern I've got for them now is, do they relax at all? I don't think they will. I don't think so at all. I think they're going to probably play the best game they've played all year this weekend on Saturday. I think it's going to be very interesting. But it's just Wigan have always had that title of they've always kind of gone in the favourites against regardless who they play. And for them not to have that mantle now, that could really knock them. So it could either knock them the confidence or it could boost them to try and get back up. But seeing Wigan in 6th, that's I don't actually remember the last time they were down that low.
Well, they're on a tightrope. There's no doubt about it because they've been right. They're getting drawn into a real battle for 6th, and it's we'll find out if that's going to pay off in the coming weeks. Steph, when you look at the last 5, I mean, KR had a massive. I mean, the last loss that KR had was Catalan. That was, I don't know what round that was, but they haven't lost since. They're on a quality winning streak now. RKR. When you look at Wigan's last 5, 2 losses, 2 wins, and a loss, based on their season, does it make it even more surprising that Matt Pete did what he did last week? Because this is a team that hasn't been playing with fluidity. It hasn't been playing with shape. It's been really not the Wigan standard. Has he? And again, we'll find out on Saturday when all's said and done. But are you even more surprised at his decision to not go toe-to-toe with KR to try and get that little bit of confidence and that little bit of rhythm into his side? Or do you think Wigan can just pick up on Saturday or turn up on Saturday and gel and produce what would arguably have to be their performance of the season to beat the cup holders currently?
Yeah, I think they can. I think we've also got to factor in with those losses that Harry Smith was out as well as Bevan French. So that's a hell of a lot of structure and creativity that was out of that Wigan side. Are they capable of turning up and doing it? Of course they are. They've done it so many other times when they've been, not favourites and gone on to win. The danger for them is OKR have got experience in big games now, so that was always a bit of a weakness for KR. It was when they played Lee. It was when where Warrington were very unlucky not to beat them. And I think getting over the line on that one has really, pushed them on and enabled them to go on and win the grand final. So they have got that big game experience now of KR, which makes them even more dangerous. But from a Wigan perspective, would it surprise me if they went and won at Wembley? Absolutely not. You'd be stupid to think that. This Wigan team has been together for a hell of a long time. And one thing we know about Wigan is they can definitely get up for a final. That doesn't mean they're unbeatable. Obviously, KR beat them in the grand final last year, and
convincingly well.
Yeah, convincingly when they did have Bevan French and Harry Smith playing in that game as well. So KR have nothing to fear and going rightly favourites. But the big worry for me is overconfidence. With KR, and I'm sure Willie will be addressing that, making sure that doesn't happen. The other one with the stat on the screen there is yellow cards, isn't it? And 2 of those are Mikey Lewis. So I have no doubt in my mind that Wigan will go after Mikey Lewis to wind him up. It's I have said I think this could be the final where we get a red card since Sedines in 1971. That's my outside bet, Steph, and probably won't happen because of that. I just think because of what's gone on in the past couple of weeks, there's going to be a bit of niggle in this final. I don't think it's going to be a very nice final, and that would make great TV and a great final as well, but I might say. I've just got a funny feeling there's going to be disciplinary issues in this game.
Yeah, man, we'll have to take some earplugs. I'm not sat far away from Dawn. That'd be very interesting. Good evening to Dawn. Hope you're well, darling. But yeah, Reggie, I mean, when you look at those, and just for the purposes of the people listening on the podcast throughout the week, we will post these graphics on our social media feeds to build up to the final. This is, of course, a tail of the tape a graphic. There's a lot of detail on it in terms of how these two compare and contrast. But when you look across the columns, Greg, it does read very well, this for KR, and when you consider that KR are a game light as well, they've only played 11. I mean, it's been buoyed in the tri-stakes by what happened last week. But that aside, there's a lot here that suggests that Wigan have got it all on, because key KPIs are very heavily stacked in KR's favour.
Indeed, they are, Dave. Yeah, and as you say, last week weighs into that heavily. And when you think that KR didn't have the best start to the season, Super League wise, losing to York, etc. They didn't have the best start. And as Steph says, Wigan lost a few players and then went on that losing streak. For me, it's fascinating. And I think those stats and the fact that Wigan are going into this game not as favourites could be all the team talk Matty Peake needs on Saturday. So, yeah, when you look at those stats, KR are rightly going into this game as favourites and on recent form as well. But, as I think we're all saying, Wigan in a final is a different animal altogether.
Yeah, it is. But like I say, when you consider that KR have played a game less, the stats from last week possibly counteract that a little bit in terms of where their position would actually be had they have played that extra game. And all things considered, the goal conversion, which can be so critical in a final, 82% conversion percentage for KR to play 78% for Wigan, that type of start in a final. Because let's be fair, we saw 2 years ago how close the final was when Wigan won. And for large periods last year, Wigan were in the game. Goal kicking is very important in these type of games. The clean break element of it, the dummy runs, we'll get onto Lytton a little bit later. A lot there for KR to be very, very excited about if you're a KR fan. I know you're not writing Wigan off. Nobody will write Wigan off, but that looks very good indeed if you're a KR fan, the tail of the tape thus far. I expect the squads to be very, very similar to the Wigan squad that was announced for the Leeds game and the KR squad that was announced for the League game. Of course, we know Arthur Morg's not going to be there. There's big questions over Dean Hadley. I'm almost getting the feeling Dean Hadley's not going to make it, which will be a big blow for KR if that is true. And of course, Carl Lawton as well. Will be. I think he'll be okay, Carl Lawton, if I'm being honest. But obviously, he's going to be going into it banged up a little bit. There's no question about that. As for Wigan, like I said, I do feel that their squad is going to look pretty much what we're seeing there on the screen. The one that played Leeds a couple of weeks ago. He's got some big decisions to make, and of course, there's this rumor that persists over Bevan French. Is he or won't he? I think it'd be a massive gamble. I just can't. I mean, we did a graphic a couple of weeks back where, you know, the win percentage of Wigan is nearly 20% better with French in. For that reason, maybe Matty Pitt. Do you know what? Let's start there. If Bevan French plays, is that probably the biggest indicator yet how much at the moment Wigan feel perhaps pressured that they're having to bring him back first game into a Challenge Cup final, Steph?
Yes, it could be. You could also say that he could have played in the last couple of weeks and they've been saving him for this. I don't think that is the case, though. I believe he was going to be out for another 4 weeks yet.
I do. I can't see it.
I would be amazed. It'd be a massive risk to play him. If he did, then that would scream desperation a bit for me. And you know, the risk of doing that is massive, isn't it? You know, if you lose Bevan French for the full season, that'd be huge for Wigan and their top 6 ambitions.
Completely agree. So I've tried my best to get some absolutes here. There's a couple of positions like Dean Hadley. I'm bordering on that Dean Hadley. For the purpose of this, we don't know. But just on the rumour mill and all the rest of it, I think Dean's a big. I think he's a big doubt for the final. So let's get into let's try and walk you through some of the key head-to-heads. And of course, what we do know is the fullbacks are locked in. It's going to be Jai Field taking on Jack Broadbent. And, you know, it's Chris. I mean, 2 finals and 2 wins for Field, of course, 1 final and 1 win for Jack. This season, Jack 11 appearances to Field's 8. 7 tries, though, in 7 appearances for Jai Field versus 3 for Broadbent, 4 assists apiece. Tackleables 40 for Field, 31 for Broadbent. 9 breaks to 5, again, in Field's favour. Errors, again, very important that we look at errors. You know, it's a key position, very, very neck and neck, 14 to 13. I must caveat this in terms of, you know, the amount of games that they played at fullback this season, of course. They haven't played the full 11, as you can see. Well, sorry, Jack Broadbent's played the 11, but he's moved around a little bit. 8 appearances only for Field. And that's what makes Field's stats here really impressive. 153 carries for 1,165 metres Field, 192 carries, 1,817 metres for Jack Broadbent. Now, before, you know, the balls kicked off on Saturday, Greg, these are 2 candidates for the Lance Todd. Straight away, you know, the first matchup, the 2 fullbacks. One of these walks away with the Lance Todd. Nobody's surprised. Both will be absolutely, if they're playing at the top of the game, in the mix for that. 2 very, very strong number 1s.
2 candidates, 2 strong number 1s. Very different in their own way. Very different types of plays. Now, Jai Field is explosive. We know what Jai Field can do, and when he's in the mix with Bevan French, that's a recipe for disaster for teams that they're facing. You know, they have kind of a almost psychic link between each other. They know where each other are. Whereas Jack Broadbent, more dependable, makes the yards, don't get me wrong, but Jai Field has that step, has that pace, has that moment of magic in him, and that's no disrespect for Jack Broadbent, who's played really, really well this season. So yeah, you know, they are, and depending on which team wins, they've got to be in the mix for Lance Todd Todd Trophy. But I think, and Wigan fans might disagree with me here, I think Bevan French brings the best out in Jai Field, whereas Jack Broadbent performs well consistently and makes very few mistakes. Very few errors. Well, he's made 13 there, but less than Jai Field.
Yeah, but he's played more games. He's played more games, and again, that's you know, that's to Broadbent's credit. You know, he's
at fullback as well, where you know you're peppered at fullback, and every mistake is highlighted. So that for me, it's a crucial battle. Will Jai Field be as successful without Bevan French in that side with him? You know, he's got Farrimond, and he's got Harry Smith there as well. But I think the magic happens for Wigan when French and Field are on the field together.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think from a broadbent perspective, I think he's a very, very safe pair of hands. And I'll tell you what, I bet the odds are really good as well. I bet the odds of him getting the Lance Todd will be really decent. They're not out yet, but it will be interesting to see when they land what broadbent is, because I'll tell you now, if you like a flutter, yeah, if KR are on form, Jack Broadbent could be the man. He could be the man. In the interest of time, we'll move on to the next one, Joel. And the next one is we're comparing and contrasting the left edges of the Wigan Warriors and Hull KR. And, you know, what is going to be incredible. First of all, let's give Noah Hodgkinson a lot of respect. You know, this young man, like Eckersley, let's remember Zach Eckersley against Warrington in the Challenge Cup final a few years ago was exemplary, had a great game, and the rest is history. Noah Hodgkinson is creating himself a reputation. It's his first final. And what a year he's having thus far. You know, he's had 8 appearances, scored 5 tries, 3 assists, 17 tackles, 5 clean breaks, only 2 missed tackles, 52 carries for 331 metres. Those are statistics and 8 games that Liam Marshall would be proud of. It's a sensational season that he's having.
It is, and that is another young player who has got an incredible future ahead. You know, it's a future star, that's for certain. And you know, he is pretty much going up against some of the best. You know, at the weekend, you know, Budgie has been an incredible winger. You know, scores, tries for fun, and you would probably put him up against anyone to score a try on the day. But yeah, no, it's going to be a massive. It's probably going to be his biggest game yet, and I think he's got to make sure that he doesn't do anything flashy, he doesn't do anything silly. He's just got to keep hold of the ball and run it really hard, and he does that week in, week out. But when you're playing, you know, a Challenge Cup final, it is a different occasion, and I think he'll rise to that as well. And I really do hope that he plays well. You know, Jake Wardle, he's been there and done that many times, so he's okay. But this is a very good matchup. I don't think KR have got it. You know,
well, these aren't going head to head. These are on the same side. So this is the left edge attack for both teams.
That's right. Yeah, and what I'm saying is, I think that when you look at the two, you know, KR have got the strongest stats there. However, you know, this is going to be really, really good, especially you look at Noah's tackle bust. I think that's really good for his age as well. You know, the fact that he's pretty much up there with Budgie and Ollie, I think it's testament, you know, to just how good of a player he is, and the fact that he is so young. It's scary to think where he's going to be when he's the same age as Joe Burgess.
He's an exceptional talent. There's no question about it. Jake Wardle obviously only played 4 games, Steph, this season. Won the final against Warrington a few years back. Good stats considering he's only played 4 games. We know what we're getting with Wardle, but when you compare and contrast the two left edges here, you can see the synergy, the fact that Gildart and Burgess, you know, they've been playing together pretty much all season. Burgess has played 11, Gildart's played 10. And this is the same pretty much across the whole KR squad, really. They're settled. You know, they've navigated injuries really, really well. It feels a more settled side than Wiggins. And I think that's what here in this left edge graphic, you're seeing that, aren't you? You're seeing a tighter unit on the KR side currently. That's not to say there's no danger in the Wigan side on the left edge. Of course there is, but it does have that feel to it.
Yeah, and you know they're forming a really good partnership. Is Gildart and Burgess, and two of the best in Super League in terms of that partnership. We didn't mention before Wardle in terms when we're talking about Wigan's form, and I think what we have got to remember with that is that they were playing the likes of Liam Farrell, weren't they, in that centre position. Yeah. Jake Wardle is an international centre, and he brings a hell of a lot to this Wigan side, not only in attack but defensively as well, in terms of the shape and trust. And for a young lad like Hodgkinson, to have him inside him will assist him massively in that defensive role as well as attack. But there's no doubt about it. Gildart and Burgess are very, very potent, and they're going to provide plenty of threats to the opposite side for Wigan.
Absolutely, and I think when we get to the right edges at the moment, I think, you know, what is interesting there is the missed tackles on on the left edge of KR's defence between Burgess and Gildart combined 26 mixed tackles. When you can, that's. I mean, again, you've got to take into account the differences in games, but there's a missed tackle a game in there from both of them, and in games like this, it only takes one missed tackle, as we saw in the final when Bevan French went through Mikey Lewis. One moment won a final, and that's where it is. But it's a really, really interesting one, that. And again, Greg, if we go to the opposite side, it's a similar tale. So this is the right edge of both teams now comparing. Zach Eckersley got the final win against Warrington. Adam Kieran, of course, didn't play. He was banned for that game, so he's yet to get off and running. As for Tom Davis and Pete Hiku, both of those two players in the team that beat Warrington last year. A little bit better in terms of the tries on this edge for Wigan. Zach Eckersley, 11 tries in Super League. It's over, I think it's 19 to 20 combined, if you include the Challenge Cup this year. So in Eckersley, they've got real potency on the right edge. That perhaps this is an edge that they look slightly stronger. Would that be fair?
Yeah, it is until you consider the tackle bust. And Zach Eckersley 29 tackle busts to Tom Davis's 27. Hiku's 24 to Kieran's 19, just the edge there. But yeah, you're right there. But the thing that interests me is the missed tackles. Adam Kieran 47 and Pete Hiku 55.
Yeah.
Wow. So there's something that both coaches will be working on defensively and offensively from both sides. Look at those missed tackles from those two centres. Yeah. And it's an important position centre when it comes to not missing your tackles, especially when the attack's going down your side. So, yeah, this is quite a good balance. Adam Kieran, he'll be filthy that he missed that final a couple of years ago after getting a red card the week before. So yeah, this is a battle that's I know they're on opposite sides, but it certainly is. It certainly makes it interesting reading those stats, don't we?
Yeah, I mean,
look at Hiku's meters. Opposed to Kieran as well, almost twice as many meters.
Yeah, you got to remember Kieran's been playing in the halves for a couple of games.
Yes, he has. He has, and obviously Kieran's in there for his kicking as well, which Hiku isn't. Yeah. But yeah, it's still an interesting stat.
It is. I think the interesting thing for me, because Gary Hutch in the chat is saying, look at the meters. Yeah, a lot of those meters though are backfield meters. I think for me, and we know that the modern day wingers do a lot of work in backfield, but I think when you look at the attacking element of the right edges, I think, like I say, this is an edge that Wigan just look a little bit more on both sides from a results perspective in terms of tries scored. It looks more balanced, so it's an interesting one. It's just an interesting one in terms of that. At this moment in time, that the right edge of Wigan, from a scoring perspective and having an influence on scores, seem to be doing a little bit better. It might have a factor in the game, Steph. It might not.
Yeah. What we do know is that this is some really experienced, good players on this screen, isn't it? And I think they all four of these players here could have a massive impact on the game. They've all been really, really good this season. Kieran's kicking is phenomenal. I mean, Lee'd give a gold pig, I think, for Adam Kieran's kicking at the moment, wouldn't they? So that's how important it can be. And in these type of games, it can come down to that. And but what they have got on KR's side is Martin. He's just as good. So, but yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the opposites of these face off against each other in this game, and it's definitely going to have an impact one way or another.
Absolutely. Well, one area of the field, Joel, that is absolutely going to have an impact on the final is in the halves. And Jack Farrimond, I mean, this is a massive game for Jack Farrimond. He's answered so many tests in his young professional career at the Wigan Warriors, and he's stepped up time and time again to show that he's got a lot in his locker. He's also showed sometimes his inexperience as well. A lot of the time when Wigan's pack hasn't been dominant as well in games, but this is a massive game, like it was for Eckersley back a couple of years ago against Warrington. This is a massive game, I think, for Jack Farriman in terms of his progression in the game and what he's capable of doing. 3 tries this year, 6 assists, 17 tackles, 5 clean breaks, 31 attacking kicks, 72 carries for 298 metres. You never know. This is a different stage, isn't it? I mean, I had the great pleasure of interviewing Robbie Hunter-Paul as part of a gig recently, and he said that when he walked out at Wembley in that first final against St Helens back in 1996, with every step from the tunnel, his legs felt heavier. He said he'd never felt anything like it in his professional career or since. It was that big, and that's Robbie Hunter-Paul. And if Jack Farriman is half the player that Robbie Hunter-Paul is, then he'll have had a great career. So if somebody of that stature is talking about a grand final, and he said, it's a different atmosphere, the heat, the energy level of Wembley as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was old Wembley. That might have a little factor in it. We all remember old Wembley. But that's what he said. And I think Jack Farriman's about to experience that. This is a completely different stage. It matters. Probably it's the biggest match of his career to date. How do you think the young man will do?
Well, you've said it exactly right. This is the biggest game he's probably going to play ever. And the reason for that is because it's his first major final where so much rests on his shoulders. Now, of course, having Harry Smith next to you, he's great, but he's got to put in the same amount of effort, if not a little bit more, because he's essentially taking the boots of Bevan French, if that is going to be the pair up, and to go up against 2 of the strongest 6 and 7s in the game in May and Lewis, I think he's another step again, and it's a very interesting insight that Robbie Hunter-Paul gave. That even before you play the game, that he felt heavy. And it's just because the weight and the magnitude of what's about to face. He's played 80 minutes of rugby league hundreds and thousands of times, but the biggest thing that people have that gets them is up there, in the head. And if he can step up to this and put in a big performance, which we all know that he's got in him, then props to the lad, because it's a very scary time. And I think the biggest problem he's got right now is this week, the build up to it, because he's got all eyes on him and the media is going to be all over him. And but it's his time to shine, and it's his time to show that if he's going to be a part of this Wigan team for a long time, then these are one of the many occasions where he has to step up and show that he's worthy of it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. It's a big game, this one, for young Mr. Farriman, without question. It's going to be a big one, no doubt about that whatsoever. Harry Smith and Tyrone May, Steph. For me, these 2 people have got the trophy in their hands. That's how big these 2 players are on the day. These are the 2 players that they're not the Mikey Lewis's, Jai Fields of this world, but these are the players that deliver trophies on the big scale. We saw Tyrone May do it last year. It was his incredible eyes up rugby that created the opportunity for the Davies try, and Harry Smith's made a career out of it. How 2 masters of the craft. It's going to be incredible to watch these 2 go head to head on the biggest stage again.
Yeah, I think, like you say, in different ways as well. And I think for me, Harry Smith is the key for Wigan to winning this game. We've already seen it this season when he's absent, that Wigan structure doesn't go away, but they lose what they are very, very good at, which is kicking the ball into difficult positions and defending it really well and making it really difficult for the team to come out and making that battle of attrition happen, where Tyrone is more of an off-the-cuff player. For me, he makes stuff that, out of nothing, and gives defences some real thing. I mean, it must be a nightmare to do reviews on, prior to the game for the coaches. But yeah, I think you mentioned the man of the match. I think both of those 2 could have a fair shout for it as well in this one. I think, especially from a Wigan perspective, I think if Wigan win the game, Harry Smith will get the Harry Sunderland trophy.
Well, that's a big shout. And then, of course, Greg, it just looms large, doesn't it? The Mikey Lewis stats. Apologies, obviously, he had 2 finals to not the one. But I mean, when you look at those stats across the other three players, it really does highlight just how colossal he is as a six. I mean, people could have the thoughts on Mikey Lewis, but for the purposes of the people listening on the podcast, 13 tries, 9 assists, 53 tackleables, 13 clean breaks, 61 attacking kicks, 165 carries for 1,052 meters. That's nearly as many meters as the other three put together. He's just electric, isn't
he? Yeah, no matter what you think about Mikey Lewis, he's a special talent. And I think, going back to what you were talking about Tyrone May, I think Tyrone May benefits because teams are that worried about Mikey Lewis. They call him Mikey Smith then. Mikey Lewis, that Tyrone May benefits off the back of that. And that's always a great thing to have in your team when you've got somebody as dangerous as Mikey Lewis, that sometimes he will take all the concentration, all the tactics, everything you've got, and it frees up other players that they want to do. And every team needs a player like that. Mikey Lewis is a special player. There's no doubt about that. And he's proved they lost against Lee and they bounced back last year. And that it took a lot of nerve, a lot of bottle to take that kick in the dying seconds of the game. It was a missable kick. And that, I think that was probably possibly that was the making of Mikey Lewis. The fact that he nailed that kick when it could have been easily missed in that final, in the dying seconds, to know that he sealed that game for OKR, the first trophy in however many years. I think that was a springboard he needed to go on and be an even better player and to inspire OKR to the grand final win last year.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. People who are watching tonight on Instagram, that's new. We can't see you. We can't see your comments, unfortunately. There, you don't come onto our screen on Instagram. But if you want to have your comments read out, and if you want to get involved with the show, go over to our YouTube channel, subscribe to that one, watch us on YouTube going forward, and we'll be able to see what you're saying live during the show. There's no doubt about it. I think between those four players, we know that they're going to have a massive say on the way in which this final is going to go. And I do think it's a massive game for Jack Farriman. We wish him well. It's a big one. It really, really is. Wow. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic to see those four players. Now, for me, this is a battle that I think potentially swings the whole game to KR. I have to say that. I think this is a game where I think Matt Pete has got a bit of an issue in terms of the bench. I don't think he'll put Forber on the bench. I really don't. I think he's going to put, and if he does, he does. But I think he'll probably go more experience on the bench because we've seen all season that he's picked a bench of youth and not played them. 15 players playing Saints, for example, this season. So I do think he's going to go tried and tested for me in this game, which will mean that Brad O'Neill's got to do big minutes. And we seen at Warrington, Brad after 60 was blowing. I mean, he got a second win, but he was blowing. Whereas Litton will probably get a break, and Lawton plays. He's got the option of Leyland as well. I do think Litton gets a break. But when you look at two very different players, we've got to say that Brad O'Neill, the key stat for Brad O'Neill isn't on the screen. The key stat for Brad O'Neill is his defensive effort. Brad O'Neill he's made 437 tackles this year at a 95% efficiency. Now, Jez does his fair share of tackling, but not on the same stratosphere as Brad O'Neill does. Brad O'Neill is a tackling number 9. That's what he does incredibly well. You can see by the dummy half runs. Litton leads the lead on 65. Brad's only ran from dummy half 16 times. But if you look at tries 4, assists 6, his runs from dummy half, Jez Litton changes games. And again, for me, a genuine Lance Todd contender in this game. No question about that whatsoever. And I think this could be a real key area of the field. I think Brad O'Neill having to do big minutes could be a big problem on this stage. I said, I don't see him putting Forber in there. Joel, your thoughts? Are you looking at this like me? Not that on a stage like this, we saw Jez do it in Ashes too, that he could hold the key.
He does, because he's unlocked so many defences and he's turned games on his head on his own in some circumstances. Wigan's got a massive, massive battle here, and I wouldn't want to be Matt Pete, because when you've got Jez on the field, and you're right, he probably will get a bit of a break. He'll definitely need it because of the best Jez Litton. He can do 80 minutes, of course he can, but the best bit of Jez Litton, you're going to need to give him some time to rest. Brad O'Neill is a good 9, but he just doesn't compare to Jez for me, and that is a shame. But the fact that he's going up against the best 9 in the comp, I think that's pretty much a given. It's going to show just how far off or near he is, but it does create a problem for Wigan, because who do you pick? Because I think in a final like this, you've got to have experience. You must have in these key pivotal positions. Unless you've got injuries and you're forced to play some younger lads, you've got to have experience there, because with the stats that Jez has, even though you might be able to compete with what Jez does, at least having somebody in there that's been there and done that before, or certainly understands what it's like to be in a big game, you need to have that grounded person that can keep things settled, especially in the number 9's position.
Well, let's not forget Brad O'Neill got a yellow last year, and that affected Wigan's grand final. So I think the 9 is such a pivotal role, and I think that if Jez is on form, that this could be the real tip for me, because we've just seen the halfbacks. It's a fascinating battle. Yes, Mikey Lewis statistically is head and shoulders, but we know there's that temperament element that could get happen. Steph mentioned that. So and we know that Tyrone May and Harry Smith, when they're on, they can put a ball on a sixpence. So it's so tight. I think the centres were tight. Yes, there's opportunity in there for both sides, but on paper it's tight. The fullbacks are tight. This, for me, you look at it, and I no disrespect to Brad, but in a game like this, I think in the same way that Jez Litton at international level will frighten defences, he'll frighten Wigan. There's no doubt about that, and this is going to be a real interesting one to watch on the day. Let's move to the forwards with you, Steph. Let's go to the front row. And these are they. You've got Even Havard, Luke Thompson, of course, Jesse Sue, Tom Amone. These are the ones we would expect to start. And again, when you look at these statistics, Thompson and Amone, they compare. They do compare, but it's still advantage, for me personally, Tom Amone, when you factor in everything in terms of busts and the lot, in terms of his tackle efficiency, etc. Even Havard, I think he's bounced back brilliantly well from Ash's disappointment when he's played for Wigan this year. He's got 2 Challenge Cups under his belt, which is fantastic from his perspective. This is a really good open. I think this is the starting 4. That's my personal belief. I think these will be the starting 4 that enter the fray. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a bruising first 20, isn't it?
It is, and it's going to be full of intensity. I think they do cancel each other out in a bit of respect. So they're all quality forwards, aren't they? I talked earlier about red cards. I think Havard could be a candidate, in that, not in a malicious way, but we've seen it before from him, just, where he can, just have a bit of a brain fart moment kind of thing. And, but there's no doubt about it. These 4 on screen are quality, right up at the top of Super League in their position, and they are going to set the platform for both of these sides to perform, I think, in this game. Whichever gets up on top is going to allow the creative backs and wingers to really dominate. So, but I think from a neutral perspective, we want to see. It's a bit like the goats butting heads, isn't it? We want to see that, and it'll set the precedent for the rest of the match, I think.
It's going to be unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Like I say, no quarter will be given. It will be, and how hot is it going to be as well? These are going to put in some big efforts, both defensively and attacking. And I think what's really impressive when you look at this is when you look at the errors. These middle unit lads, they do a lot of work defensively, a lot of work, and a lot of the time we've seen it. They are prone to an error or two, because they're so fatigued, to have played the games that they have played this season. And, collectively, to have only made 10 errors is very, very impressive. Very, very good indeed. Great contest. Great first 20. Really looking forward to this one. Right, where are we going next? I think we've done that one, haven't we? Let's have a quick look. Let's bring Reggie back in. Yeah, we've done that one. Greg, this is the decision that Matt Peters got to make. Who does he start on the right-hand side of his second row to begin the game? Is it going to be Sam Walters that starts? Is it going to be Liam Farrell? Farrell, 5 finals, 4 wins. That, for me, gets it him. I think he will go with Farrell. He's his captain. Even though Sam Walters and Nsemba have been second rows side by side for a lot of games this season, do you think that Liam Farrell starts this game over Walters on the right edge of the Warriors?
Yeah, I think he does. I think Walters is on the bench because he can cover at prop, he can cover second row. For that reason alone, that he's more versatile. But, you know, Farrell is Mr. Consistency. I can't believe that some Wigan fans once him gone. It just befuddles me that they've got a player of this guy's stature and they're criticising him. He is his experience. All the kids in that Wigan side, he will be there to calm them down, to talk them through the game. And for me, Farrell has got to start on Saturday. Has got to start.
So on that basis, let's get him starting. I agree. Boys, do you agree, Steph, Joel? It'll be a Farrell start as the captain in the second row. Yeah,
I think it has to be.
Yeah. So this, of course, then will be the second rowers side by side. And like I say, the experience of Farrell there just shines through. Head and shoulders the most experienced Challenge Cup member of either squad in there. And I think that, again, for that reason, his captaincy, his experience, I think in that opening half now will be absolutely so critically important to the Wigan Warriors. But again, fascinating statistics. Look at Junior Nsemba, Joel, this season. He's back to beast mode. 43 tackle busts this season. He really, I mean, the surprising thing for me is his lack of tries. I'd have expected probably more at this stage, but he's punching again. But albeit prone to a lot of errors, and that's something he can ill afford to do on Saturday, Joel.
He is, but I think there is a reason for that. And one thing I have noticed about him this year is, and this is also maybe the reason why there's less tries in there, he's putting the work in more aggressively down the middle as opposed to up near the try line. He's doing the gritty stuff that other players don't necessarily like to do, and he seems really happy doing it. So I think when you couple that with not scoring as many tries because of the effort that he's putting in backfield, compared to up near the try line, he is going to come up with more errors. But you can ill afford to do that in a Challenge Cup final. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of Nsemba we have come the weekend, because he has got the game. We've spoke very highly about him over the years of him playing here at Super League Raw, and he's somebody that just is undroppable because he just gives you everything. And we saw when he went up against Alex Walmsley just how much of a battle he has, and he's not afraid of anybody or anything. And that is going to go massively into Wigan's favour, because he will more than happily go up against anybody in that whole KR squad, and he'll do a cracking job.
Yeah, and I think, Steph, I don't think we can underestimate how important James Batchelor's return will be for the Robins. Obviously, he's had his HIA. He's been out for a couple of weeks, but, they'll feel a lot happier him going up against Nsemba, I would have thought. Getting James Batchelor back is a real bonus for KR.
Yeah, for me, he's one of the most underrated players in Super League, James Batchelor. Not by the KR fans, I'll add. They obviously love him, but I think he's a phenomenal second rower. We're very, very about him being talked, for the dream team and that kind of thing. I think he's right up there with the best second rowers in the comp, and he has a massive impact on what KR do well. So. Yeah, he's going to be a big factor in this final, and I'm sure Willie Peters is made up that they're getting back for this game.
Yeah, and a big one for Reece Martin, because like I say, if Dean Hadley isn't playing their big feet to fill. I have to say, or should I say, but I think Reece has been steady away. We know Reece is a quality player, and he's been steady away this season for KR. Great battles in the second row, which just leaves, of course, the two loose forwards, Greg, and it's, of course, Cade Ellis and it is Elliot Minchella. Minchella, of course, captain fantastic for KR. Great, two fantastic players. I think Cade Ellis, for me, has been superb. I think since he's gone into 13. Elliot, for me, a more natural 13. But both will have a calming influence. Both will get through some gritty work down the middle. But I would say that I think Minchella, for me, slightly comes out on top in this one.
Yeah, the stats might kind of slightly skew that a bit, but I think Minchella is a class act. I think he's at the heart of everything Hull KR have done well over the last few years. He's dependable. He's a solid influence there. And for me, Minchella is probably the best on his day. He's the best 13 in the comp for me. A superb player. And if he performs, Hull KR win this.
Well, I mean, I think he certainly will steady them. There's no doubt about that. He does have that calming influence on them. Of course, in terms of the bench, there's no doubt Walters, Mago, Partington, they're definitely on the bench. And I think he'll go with Sam Esse. I really do. I just don't see him putting those kids on the bench, Matty P. Like I say, I go back to the games that he's had the opportunity of putting them on in Super League, and he hasn't done. So why would he put them on in the Challenge Cup final? I just don't see. Does anybody see Wigan's bench any different? If that lead squad there is a representation of what he's got at his disposal, Partington will play loose forward for Wigan. Maybe he might start foul and put Cade Ellis on the bench. Exactly. Yeah, Partington's been playing a little bit of that. But I think he'll put Partington on the bench because I think Partington has got it in his game that he could deputise for Brad O'Neill. So I think he might leave Partington on the bench to give him that little bit of a buffer there whereby he can either put him in and give him a stint at loose forward if Brad O'Neill is pulling up well energy-wise, or he could put him in to deputise for Brad O'Neill. So that's how I see it. You're right, it'd be Ellis or Partington, but I don't. Does anybody see any of those other kids? I like a Tom Forber on the bench for Wigan this weekend. No?
Unless an injury, no.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, no, I think Tom Forber's probably the closest, but I think he'll just miss out.
I agree. I think
probably 18th man Forber.
Yeah, if there was going to be one, it'd be Tom Forber. I agree with that, but I just don't see him doing it. He'd have done it in Super League. I just can't fathom why he would do it in a Challenge Cup final when the silverware on the line. So for that reason, I think that the Wigan bench almost lends itself. The question is, will it be Ellis or Partington? As for the Robins, there's no doubt the likes of Luckley. I mean, Whitbread may or may not travel due to his wife expecting the first baby, or partner. So that's a problem there. If Carl Lawton is fit, we know Litton may even start on the bench, or Lawton will start. Probably Litton, I would have thought, and Lawton will start in the opening stanzas in there for them. Dean Hadley will be a massive loss. I think Sam Luckley, he's in. There's no doubt that Sam Luckley's in. And then after that, Billy, again, it depends on Lawton. Bill Leyland may have a chance of getting in there. I do think, lads, that the bench favours Wigan a little bit, especially if Hadley is injured and Whitbread doesn't play. I think Wigan will have a stronger bench, and that will be interesting to see how Willie Peters navigates it. Is that a fair comment?
It's interesting. It's
100% that, Dave. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough, gentlemen. Right, okay. So there we go. That's where we are. It's going to be incredibly hot, as somebody's just said in the chat. You're spot on. It's going to be hot. It's going to be a war of attrition. Should be a great game. Arguably the two best teams going head to head. We want the best version of both to really make it a fascinating contest. So now it's time to pick. Steph, who wins by how many? Keep it brief.
By 6.
KR by 6. Reggie?
Wigan by 10.
Joel?
I was going KR by 6.
Okay, I'm going to go KR by 12.
Wow.
I'm going KR by 12. I think this could be one of those games where we've seen KR do it time and time again, where they start blisteringly well, really get out the traps. I think they'll want to get at Wigan. I really do. And if they execute that right, it could be that they get into a good lead, and we'll see what happens from there. Right. So that's that said and done. I'm doing rubbish on the prediction league. I wouldn't really worry Wigan Warriors fans if I was you. Right, okay. Before we go, let's just dab into this one. The Lance Todd Trophy. Who wins the Lance Todd? The last 3 winners, all halfbacks. Mark Sneed, Bevan French, Lachlan Lamb. The most Lance Todd Trophy wins by position are fullbacks with 15. The last 3 winners being Brett Hodgson, Richie Marler and Niall Evans. Only 3 hookers have won the Lance Todd. Tommy Harris for Hull FC in 1960, Michael Monaghan for the Wire in 2009, and Davil Clark in 2009 for Warrington as well against St Helens. And the last prop forward to win the Lance Todd Trophy was Jeff Lima for the Wigan Warriors in 2011. Steph, who writes their name in history? Who wins the Lance Todd on Saturday?
First and foremost, that Jeff Lima's a great start. And that's a great quiz question. That is, I would never have got that. Jez Litton.
You're going Jez Litton. So he will be the 4th hooker to win the Lance Todd. Reggie?
Harry Smith.
Harry Smith, which will make it another halfback win. That'll be 4 in a row for the halfbacks. And Joel?
Well, I was thinking more Jack Broadbent.
You're going fullback.
Yeah.
Which will mean the 16th fullback to win the Lance Todd Trophy in the history of the Challenge Cup. It's tough. It really is a tough one, this, to say. It could be any of them. Could be any of them. They are the most likely candidates. There's no doubt about it. I just think that the stock of Jez Litton at the moment is that high. He's being touted for this, that, the other. If Jez Litton performs on Saturday, he gets it. Because we know there's narrative and we know that it's going to be, so I just think Jez Litton, if Jez Litton as a stormer, he wins. And I am going KR by 12. So for that reason, a lot of people liking Tyrone Mate, and I get that as well. And Semba Nige Bennett, that'd be interesting. Look, bottom line is there is no captain's run. We've just done the captain's run. We've just done our bit to build up to the first piece of silverware in the domestic competition this season, before KR start talking World Club Challenges. The first domestic silverware is up for grabs for the season. It should be a belter. We're looking forward to it. Come and say hello to us. We're going to be at the Bobby Moore statue from around about 20 past 11. We'll be going into the stadium about 11:45. So if you're around Wembley, you want to come and say hello to Super League Raw, by all means do. Meet us at the Bobby Moore. Come and say hello. Let us know you watched the show and give us your verdict. You might be on a live as well outside the stadium. And like I say, plenty of lives going on from me and Joel throughout the weekend. Enjoy Challenge Cup final. The sun hopefully will be shining. And hopefully Rugby League will be the winner. Best of luck to both teams. I will see you tomorrow night with Craig Lingard for Championship Rugby League. All the usual shows coming. Don't go anywhere. Check out what's coming this week. From all of us on the programme, that's another weekly. Bye for now.